Mark Duplass on exploring the dark underbelly of the hero complex in Hulu's Good American Family. I was able to look more closely at what hero complexes are and what people's desires to help people are really all about, says Mark Duplass of his role as Michael Barnett in the Hulu limited series Good American Family. Why did Michael and wife Christine feel like they needed to adopt this girl? Was it really because they wanted to help her, or were there other things involved? Good American Family tells the story of Natalia Grace, a Ukrainian-born orphan with a rare form of dwarfism, whose adoption takes a dark turn when her new family begins to question her true identity. Duplass and Alan Pompeo play her adoptive parents. The Barnetts and newcomer Imogen Faith Reed stars as Natalia. Duplass admits he was initially hesitant about the series. "I read some headlines," he tells Gold Derby. "I had seen a little bit of the documentary. When this came about, I had this snap judgment of, why are we doing another ripped from the headline story? Do we need to do this story? Has it been told yet?" However, after meeting with showrunners Katie Robbins and Sarah Sutherland, Duplass was convinced to join the project. They walked me through their vision of telling the story over 8 episodes. They walked me through the hundreds of hours of research they had done on the complexities of these characters. They told me, this is a story about perspective, and this is a story about bias. We're going to do this by doing the Rashomon trick. We're going to do this from different perspectives and weave in and out. Your character of Michael Barnett is going to be at times seen as a lovely father who cares for his children with the best of intentions, to someone who's very manipulative, someone with serious mental health issues. All of these things are going to exist within this plane. For Duplass, the ambitious storytelling approach sealed the deal. I thought, that's a big swing for one of these marquee Hulu miniseries, and I want to be a part of this ship whether it sinks or sails. Playing Barnett required a careful balance for the actor. "I haven't played a lot of real-life figures on screen," he says. Knowing that Michael Barnett was a very public figure because of the documentary, I felt like I needed to watch a bit of the documentary to understand the ways of the character, mannerisms, means of speech, and make a decision on how much I wanted to lean into or out of that. The showrunners made it pretty clear to me that we were going to be making the character of Michael Barnett, inspired by, Duplass continues. That freed me up a little bit to bring some of my own skills into the character. The actor was also able to find commonality with Barnett. There are a lot of things at the core that I identify with. This character has a lot of mental health issues, and I've dealt with a lot of that in the past. That helps me to understand the desperation with which someone would operate and how much he wants to cling to his marriage. How much you might allow yourself to be manipulated and how you might manipulate others to keep your life on the rails. Duplass calls working with Pompeo one of the highlights of his Emmy-winning career. "I love Ellen and I love what she brought to this whole process. She is arguably the biggest television star of this generation with Grey's Anatomy. She was nervous. I love that she was questioning if audiences would reject her because they just want to see Meredith Grey. We talked about all that stuff. It was so beautiful that she shared that with me. She's got a very high integrity meter. We had a blast together." Another welcome surprise was working with Reed, who is starring in her first ever speaking role. "She's the real revelation," Duplass says. "She's not speaking in her native dialect. She is figuring out an entirely new form of physicality. Throw everything at this girl that you possibly can." She was such a light of positivity, grace, and gratitude. For all of us who have been doing this for so long, it was a reminder that, oh yeah, right. This job's King awesome. We should all be grateful to be here. Michael Barnett's narrative is fraught with emotional challenges, particularly the dynamics among him, Christine and Natalia. The character of Michael is stuck in between them, Duplass explains. I really enjoyed a lot of those scenes. There's the simplicity of a love triangle, but there's a deeper level. This character really believes that Christine has saved his life. He wouldn't be here today if it was not for her. He is so desperately afraid of disappointing her or losing her. At the same time, he's so desperately attached to Natalia and the idea that he could parent her in a way that would save her from some of the horrible childhood misery that he felt he had. What more can you ask for to play dramatically? In the crisp, unsettling world of Hulu's Good American Family, Mark Duplass steps into a role unlike anything he's tackled before, and he's not just acting. As co-creator, executive producer, and star of the limited series, Duplass peels back the glossy veneer of suburban righteousness to reveal what he calls the rot that hides under the cape of goodness. It started with this idea of the hero complex. Duplass says, sipping from a coffee mug half covered in scribbles from the writer's room. We all know the image. The family man who mows the lawn, pays his taxes, donates to charity, the American archetype. But I wanted to ask, what happens when that man believes he's owed something in return? When being good becomes a currency instead of a value? Duplass plays Daniel Walsh, a seemingly upstanding high school principal in a quiet New Jersey suburb who is loved by students, respected by peers, and revered by the PTA moms. On the surface, he's the embodiment of decency, a devoted father of 3, churchgoer and community volunteer. But as the series unfolds, a series of manipulations, gaslighting episodes, and disturbingly benevolent power plays expose him as a man who needs to control, to be thanked, and to be needed, at any cost. The character of Daniel isn't a villain in the traditional sense, Duplass explains. He's a man who does good things, but not necessarily for good reasons. He's the guy who picks you up from the airport and then reminds you of it every time he needs a favor. He weaponizes kindness. And that, to me, is scarier than a mustache-twirling bad guy. Good American Family is part thriller, part domestic drama, and part psychological study. It blurs the lines between morality and manipulation in such a way that viewers often find themselves uncomfortably aligned with Daniel, until they're not. The show builds tension in slow, deliberate increments, with eerie strings, lingering camera shots, and silences that speak volumes. Duplass credits much of the show's eerie realism to its writer's room. We had this one rule: no evil for evil's sake. Every questionable action had to come from a place that the character believed was right. That's what makes it feel so personal, so invasive. You don't just watch Daniel, you recognize him. In your pastor, your neighbor, maybe even in yourself. When asked if any real-life figures inspired the character, Duplass chuckles. Let's just say I've been to a lot of school board meetings. There's a certain kind of person who thrives in environments where good behavior is performative, because they know how to perform. Duplass has made a career of exploring morally gray areas, from the awkward intimacy of togetherness to the creepy charm of creep. But Good American Family, he says, dives deeper. This series doesn't ask, what if people are not who they say they are? It asks, what if they are exactly who they say they are? But that's the problem.